ECF has published a set of recommendations for the COVID recovery, which we hope that municipalities, regions, and countries can take inspiration from. We will take you through these very briefly. We call for cycling infrastructure. We know that the infrastructure is essential to make people move from other means of transport, especially the cars, to cycling. We call for 95,000 kilometers of the so-called COVID lanes, roads that are being repurposed for cycling. And use the opportunity now, when we are recovering from the crisis, to change our cities. We see rapid measures taking place in cities all over the continent, actually all over the world, from Bogota in Colombia to Tirana in Albania, in Paris, in Brussels, in cities all over. We see that there are now bicycle lanes popping up to be used for bicycle riders all over the world. We call for €2 billion to be set aside for these temporary measures because they are fast, they are easy to build, and it makes it efficient to use our bicycles. But temporary measures are not enough. We need permanent, safe, protected infrastructure. We need infrastructure that is suited for all ages and abilities. For that, another €6 billion is needed to create permanent solutions for infrastructure and other measures. We know that a safe and protected infrastructure is the key to make everybody want to ride the bicycle. Infrastructure is a necessity if we want to be not only safe, but also feel safe out there on the streets. And that is necessary for all of us. Another measure is lowering traffic speed in our cities. Speed kills. Being hit by a car that goes 50 kilometers an hour will kill most pedestrians and bicycle riders. Lowering the speed limit to 30 kilometers an hour will actually save most of these people and make sure that they can recover from the accident. Reducing traffic speed is the first step that we need to take in all of our cities. It won't actually make overall mobility much slower, because in a lot of streets, the average speed today is lower than 30 kilometers. But we need the maximum speed to go down to make sure that when accidents occur, that then they won't be as fatal as they are today. And you can take Brussels, where we are today, here in ECF, as an example. Brussels has just reduced speed to 20 kilometers an hour within the inner ring road. That makes suddenly cars the guests of the road instead of being the main deal. That creates a whole new hierarchy on the streets where pedestrians and bicycle riders are the most welcome part. That is essential for making our cities change into the better. A third incentive that we are calling for is to incentivize positive change and to disincentive the car travel. One thing we call for here is €5 billion, together with other bicycle organizations, the industry, and so on in Europe, for e-bikes and cargo bikes. We call for the European institutions to establish a set of subsidies so that it becomes cheaper to buy an e-bike. Why is that? Well, we have seen, for instance, in Sweden, that had an incentive scheme of 25% subsidies for e-bikes, that it dramatically changed the picture. That commuters that had a little bit longer to their work, some 15, 20 kilometers, they were suddenly incentivized to use an e-bike to go to work. That removed a lot of cars from the streets, and it made a lot of people use an e-bike because suddenly it was just as fast to ride an e-bike to work than it would have been to take a car or anything else. We know that these subsidy schemes, they work. When we combine them with bicycle schemes for bicycle purchases or repairs, then we can actually make a lot of people change their mode of transport. This has to be combined with disincentives for travel by car. It can be congestion charges, as we see it in many cities, Gothenburg, Stockholm, London, Singapore, Oslo, and so on. But it can also be limited car parking, just like Amsterdam or Copenhagen has done, by taking away car parking and use them for bicycle lanes or for bicycle parking. This is actually giving away urban space from the many to the from the few to the many, where one car parking spot can actually be turned into a parking spot with a bike rack that can now be used for 12 people to place their bicycles safe and efficient.
So let's talk a bit about cyclelogistics and our recommendations here. We know that cyclelogistics, or using bikes for deliveries basically, has much more potential. Environmentally friendly delivery modes, such as cargo bikes, are essential if we want to address the environmental impact of delivery traffic amidst the continuing growth of e-commerce all across Europe. Studies have shown that over 50% of motorized vehicles for moving goods in our cities could be switched to bikes. The City Changer Cargo Bike Project, which ECF is part of, and which is supported by the European Commission's Horizon 2020 program, brings together 20 partners, including cities, research institutions, NGOs, and industries from all over Europe in the quest to achieve a faster, more cost-effective, and larger-scale deployment of this sustainable mobility option. Research from this project showed that cargo bikes outmatch traditional delivery vehicles in almost every respect. Over 90% of commercial vans and trucks currently circulating are diesel-fueled. A single cargo bike, replacing a diesel transporter, saves 5 tons of CO2 emissions per year. This makes cargo bikes one of the most effective tools for achieving the EU goal of CO2-free city logistics by 2030. So cargo bikes not only reduce air pollution, but also noise pollution and congestion, and they increase safety. They reduce the number of vans and trucks on our streets, which are currently responsible for 14% of fatal collisions. The City Changer Cargo Bike Project has collected a number of valuable resources to guide cities and businesses in the process of converting their urban logistics into a more efficient, cleaner, and infinitely safer system. You can find links to these resources on our website at ecf.com. Let's also talk a bit about leisure cycling and cyclotourism. So in addition to the recovery measures aimed at increasing everyday cycling and cyclelogistics, as we approach the summer vacation, the leisure and tourism aspects will gain more and more attention. Cross-border international tourism as we know it, and city tourism are not likely to return to the same levels until a vaccine or treatment is found. So many people will vacation at home, or at least in their home country, and activities that help maintain social distancing will also be popular as vacation options this year. So the need for social distancing will also continue to limit the capacity of fitness centers and gyms. So people will be looking for other ways to get their regular exercise. We think that leisure cycling and cycling tourism provide great solutions for this. E-bikes can also ensure that people of all ages and abilities can go on cycle tours or even just get some healthy exercise together. So ECF is recommending to develop suburban and rural cycle route networks in addition to the urban infrastructure networks mentioned by Morten earlier. We also recommend that support be provided to the cycling tourism sector. Businesses working in cycling tourism should benefit from the economic assistance packages that are being introduced in most member states and at EU level. This is a great time to reset the tourism sector to focus more on sustainable tourism models like cycling tourism, and also to impose green conditions on any financial support. We also recommend that cycling tourism be more actively promoted as an attractive, sustainable option in these current times and beyond. We call for investment in promotional campaigns, such as the hashtag Je Voyage à Vélo campaign that is big in France right now. It's a really great example. And also for updated tools such as maps, guides, websites, and apps to make it much more accessible and easier for people to choose this option. And let's not forget ECF's campaign to amend the EU rail passenger rights regulation. Whether commuting, moving around on weekends, or having a cycling holiday, the bike train bike mode is one of the most popular mobility solutions among Europeans. We call on the European Parliament, the Commission, and Council to ensure that the revised EU rail passenger rights regulation entitles passengers to take bicycles on board trains, and that at least 8 bicycle spaces are available on all new or refurbished trains in Europe. So, just to sum up, although the recommendations we've just been describing represent major investments indeed, investing in cycling is still extremely cheap compared to investments in other transport modes. The returns on investment for our environment, our economy, our health, and our well-being are huge. At ECF, we're monitoring the measures being implemented in cities, regions, and countries across Europe, together with the help of our members and other partners. We'll soon be launching a dashboard to track and report on these, and you can help us by making sure that we're aware of all the great things you're doing in your area. We call on all of you watching today to help enable and implement these recommendations to achieve more and better cycling for all. Now's the time. Keep up the good work, and let's do even more for cycling.